Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Denise Moore-Revelle, the founder of the Own Your Amazing movement and also the creator of the Restoration Leadership Framework. Today, I am so excited to have one of our amazing guest speakers who's going to be joining us for the Restore, the virtual wellness retreat. So welcome today, Miss Overstreet. Did I
Yes,
get your name correct?
yes, that's correct.
Great. So Alexis, she's going to be doing some amazing things with us at the retreat. She's going to get us moving. So Alexis, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, a little bit of how I show up in the world is I am a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a pup mom. I'm also a psychotherapist and a somatic practitioner. So what that means is I help people figure out where stress is in their body and how to get it out. Stress, trauma, and overwhelm. I have a practice for therapy and also a coaching practice for leaders. And I'm excited to be doing this virtual wellness retreat with you all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for saying yes. Yeah, I really do appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I know you could have been doing a million other things, but you said yes to this. So we thank you for being a part of
Absolutely.
this. So you're known for your direct approach. You help leaders to unsqueeze their butt cheeks. I love that. And regulate their nervous system. So let's start there. What does that mean when our bodies are literally holding tension? And why can't we just let it go or think our way out of that?
I think that's a great question. And it's one of the ones that I get very often. What does it mean when we hold stress? Well, stress is usually accumulated in our body based on the experiences that we have. And so, for instance, if we are out here doing all the great things that us women in leadership do, we may have a conflict, or we may get overwhelmed, or we may get really excited because we're about to speak, or contract come through, or something like that. What we're experiencing in the world is showing up in our body, and that usually showing up in tension. So some examples may be clenching your jaw, maybe butterflies, it may be like clenching your fists, curling your toes, and also squeezing your butt cheeks. That's one of the things when, I'm doing a presentation or training. I will ask people in the room, are you squeezing your butt cheeks? And they always look at me like, why are you all up in my business and why are you right? So
Yeah.
so that is how that manifests. That's what it means when we say that stress, trauma, overwhelm, excitement, also love, all of that shows not just kind of like negative emotions and experiences, but all of the range of emotions show up in our body. Yeah.
As you was talking, it reminded me of something recently. And I've struggled with it. I have to wear a retainer for my teeth at night.
Hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, my retainer wasn't fitting properly. My mouth was hurting. And I realized I was clenching my teeth at night and
Yeah.
grinding my teeth. And so I was talking with someone about it, and they was like, you stressing out about something? I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I was manifesting it through clenching my teeth and was causing my mouth to be unaligned because I was like, I might need to get a night guard. But then I was
Mhm.
like, no, let's just address what is causing me to
Right.
squeeze and to get. So, yes, it can show up in parts of our body. So,
Yeah.
that's what just came to mind when you were talking about that.
Yep. And at this point, if like you were a client, I would give you like a round of applause, and like I would give you all the hand, like the thumb claps, because that is actually you listening to your body, right? A lot of times we notice things like that, and what we try to do is like fix just fix the thing that's coming up versus like
Yes.
going to like the foundational issue that our
Yeah.
body is trying to communicate to us. Our body is always trying to communicate. We just don't have like the ears to listen to that yet.
Yeah, because I really thought about going back to my orthodontist. It's like, "Hey, I might need to get fitted for a
Hmm.
night guard or
And they'll
my."
fit you. They'll
Oh,
fit
yeah,
you right away.
exactly. I was like, "I don't know if my retainers are fitting." Then I was like, "Wait a minute. I think it's deeper than that." And honestly, once I kinda really addressed it, I hadn't had any problems with it.
Mhm.
I have not
Yeah.
had any problem with my retainers going in. I didn't wake up with, like, hurting or anything like that over the
Yeah.
last few weeks.
What did you do? I'm curious.
I really thought about what was stressing me out. Like, what am I stressing about? And I had a couple of things that were on my mind. I was like, well, let's just deal with those issues. Get to the root of that. You know what I mean? So I journaled and then I took some action because it was like, well, you need to address this issue
Huh? Yep.
and not
That's
just
a
get a
big
night guard. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a big piece of it. And that's how stress manifests in our body. And one
Yeah.
way, because we can't live without stress, right? And to be honest, as entrepreneurs, as women in this world that often I would say feels like it's like on fire and blowing
Yeah.
up, sometimes we're just in a sprint. And there's not a whole lot we can do to reduce the level of stress. There is a ton of things that we can do to discharge the stress that comes up in our body. So for example, if you are, I don't know, planning a retreat, because that's a lot of work, right? If you're doing something like that and you're noticing that you're still grinding your teeth, you could have a night routine, 2 to 3 minutes. I'm real heavy on the quick in and out and accessibility. Maybe, massaging like the joint of the jaw right here,
Yes.
massaging the temples, massaging behind the ears, sometimes self massaging, even the neck. Also, if anyone else who is listening to this is experiencing that you can do that, because that is helping us to discharge what's coming up, because we can't all the time control like the intake of the stress.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. So at the retreat, your session is called Unsqueeze, Release, Restore. What can attendees will be doing during the session and what can they expect from you?
Right. So we are going to get on the floor. I used to tiptoe around like how I introduce somatic work. But then I start saying to myself, and probably this has like happened in the last 6 to 8 months, like the world kind of don't tiptoe about how much
Mm.
stress it gives us. And so, like, why am I tiptoeing around like how I'm introducing wellness to people? So we're going to go right in. One of the formats, interventions that I use is called trauma release exercises, or TRE. And what that means, there is a series of exercises that helps our body get to a place of involuntary movement that is naturally meant for our body to do, but that we're so far removed from it that we don't know that we have access to it. And so we are going to be getting on the floor and we're going to be learning how to trimmer. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. Why not?
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Excited about that. Oh my goodness. Because I don't know if I've ever done that before. So I'm definitely
A lot of
looking
people
forward to
have
it.
not done it formally, but a lot of people have done it informally. So what I usually say is like, have you ever been in a conversation with someone on the phone or in an experience where you felt so like, I don't know, like activated or angry, or you had deep emotions and you didn't want that person to know your hand. And so you tried to hide it, but inside you start shaking on the inside. Have you ever
Yes.
experienced that?
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
tremoring. That is your body naturally discharging the level of buildup, the level of tension in your body. And oftentimes we think that something is wrong with us when we do that. And so one of my missions is to just introduce people into their body so that they feel more comfortable doing that.
Wow. I love that. So a lot of people say, you need to move your body, but they don't. So why is that? And what do you think? What is the difference between somatic movement versus just exercise? Or is there a difference?
Yes and no. So I think that people don't move their body because they get stuck. Yeah, they're also exhausted. And so they don't feel like they have, excuse me, the additional energy to be able to do that. A form of exhaustion, a form of fatigue can also be translated as stuckness in your body. Anytime we refer to stuckness being in a body, we're talking about the body conserving energy. Okay. And so if you're in a place where you're not motivated, you can't do it, it's like a mental thing, that can be a place of stuckness. So I think that's what sometimes keep people from moving. When we start talking about somatic work and exercise, they're kind of the same and they're kind of not. So exercise in general is somatic work. Somatic just means movement in your body, a practice of movement.
Mhm.
And so when we start talking about what is somatic, what is exercise, if you're exercising, you're having some somatic movement. How I like to explain to people is sometimes it is involuntary and sometimes it's voluntary. And when we're exercising, it's all voluntary. We're out here running, we're walking, we're doing burpees, we're doing pull ups. Not me. I take out a burpee any day. Okay, I will take it down. But a pull up, we not doing that. Not at the ripe age of 49. At least maybe not yet. But
Okay.
so all of that is voluntary. And when we get to the place of allowing our body to move involuntarily because of what it is consuming on a daily basis, then we're allowing our body to kind of own its sovereign like intuition. You know what I mean? It has its own innate knowing and when it needs to release or when it needs to discharge. And so when we move involuntarily and allow our body to do that and not be afraid of it, then that is where it comes like involuntary somatic work. A lot of women experience this after childbirth. which is
Okay.
interesting because having a child is traumatic. It's traumatic, right? And so a lot of times what will happen is after the birthing process, women will start to shake, but they get afraid and they will report that to medical practitioners. And what do? They give them a sedative
Mm,
when the body is actually trying to heal. And
yes.
so we have these involuntary movements that come up. We just have to be a little bit more attuned to letting them come up. So that's the long, short answer to your question.
I love it. Thank you for that insight because I know myself and other people who will be watching may not have known that. So thank you for sharing that and making that distinction. So, for someone who's been living in their head for years, really disconnected from their body, what or where can they start today to do it differently?
The first step is awareness, right? The
Yeah.
first step is like, okay, I think I'm a head person. I think I stay in my head all the time. The very next step is going to be get yourself on a search engine and Google how do I get out of my head? How do I incorporate somatic work into my life? I am 100% hands down about adding trauma release exercises, TRE, involuntary movement into people's practice. Everything is not for everyone. I've worked with, at this point, probably hundreds, close to thousands of bodies. And out of that, I've probably run into 2 to 5 that it wasn't well suited for.
Hmm.
But for the most part, our body is naturally meant to release and discharge. So I would probably say, know that you're in your head, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and also maybe do a quick search engine, right? Because we want to give people power. We want to give people agency. We want people to know that this is something that you can do. Like, how can I incorporate movement or somatic work in order to get more out of my head?
Love it. Love it. Love it. So, what's one thing that the attendees can do this week or even today to start releasing the tension that they've been holding? What's one thing, one simple practice that you can give us today?
Well, I usually lean into my 3 pillars that I usually talk to people about, which is, breath work, hydration, and movement. And so if there's something that you can do today, I'm gonna take away the movement because sometimes, I have to explain what the movements are and whatnot. If I take away that, then we have 2 left, and one is hydration. Hydration is one way for us to somatically work in our body, right? Because if we don't have proper hydration, we don't have energy. We are composed of water. And so I would say to hydrate. There are 2 different kinds of, well, actually 3, but 2 main ways that you can hydrate. One is H2O, which is water, and one is H3O, which is water-filled foods or structured water. So we're talking
Mm.
about like your lettuces, your cucumbers, all your fruits and vegetables, most of them anyway. And then the other thing would be your breath work. How can you extend your breath? So if you're breathing in for a count of, I don't know, maybe 3 or 5, see if you can extend that breath to 8 or even 10. If you're extending your breath, that directly communicates to your body that, okay, all right, sis, we're not in no emergency. Oh, you got time to just like breathe lightly and slow? Okay, bet. And so those are maybe 2 things that you can do today to get ready. Now, if you're talking about also how can you get ready for the session?
You can
100.
talk about that too.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
If
sure.
you're
How
talking
can we
about
get
how to
ready
get
for the session?
yes, it's going to be hydrate. I like to tell people it's very similar to going to get blood work done, right? If
Mhm.
you know that you haven't had your water, you're gonna go there, they're gonna stick that needle, they ain't gonna be able to find nothing because you're dried up. Okay.
Yes.
You're dried up. And so think of it like that. You want to hydrate so that you can keep your fascia and your tissues nice and plump and juicy. Also, when we think about what water is, it's a conductor. And so when we get to the place where we're involuntarily moving, that is allowing your body to send more like chemical messages through your nerve endings and all of those, like all the chemical things that are happening in the body. That's allowing that practice to happen. So if there's something that you want to do to get ready for our session, I would say hydrate, bring water filled foods, peel you a couple oranges or a couple mandarin, slice up some cucumbers, have your water on the side, and come and shake with us.
All right. Yay. It's gonna be so awesome. So as we wrap up, thank you again so much for being here today. As you think about the session you're going to be leading, what is the one thing that you really hope that the attendees walk away with after the session?
A skill. a skill and the understanding and awareness that they have agency, right? That you can go to a professional and work with them. But I want people to know that this is like our human birthright to be able, because we're mammals, to be able to discharge stress that is accumulated in the body. And so I always want to give that kind of that sense of agency, that sense of independence, that sense of knowing that they can get rid of stress and it doesn't have to take scheduling a massage or going to a professional to release it. Those do help because I am one of those professionals.
Right.
Those do help. And also, you can do it 3 to 10 minutes before you go to bed at night, which is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. You can do it in the bed, actually.
And you're gonna teach us how to do that.
Might as well.
Yay! I'm so excited. Thank you again for saying yes to being a part of the retreat. I know I'm excited. I can't wait for your sessions just to get all of this goodness that you're gonna be giving to us. So if you're like me, you say, I need this, it is still time to register.
Ooh,
Registration is not closed yet. You still have time. There will be a link with this video so you can register today so you don't miss Alexis's sessions. I'm telling you, it's
no.
amazing. I'm looking forward to it. I know my body needs it, and I know so many other people do as well. So thank you again for saying yes. I can't wait to see you at the retreat, and I know again you're going to add so much value to all of those who attend. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to go, but we hope to see you at the Restore, the virtual wellness retreat. All right, see you then. Bye.